Welcome to the Developing Life Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited that you can join us as we kick off Season 2 of the Developing Life Podcast, where we explore the real, raw, and transformative journeys of creatives, leaders, and innovators. Today's episode is so powerful because it asks a question we don't often stop to consider, which is, what if the very thing we struggle with the most could become our greatest tool for connection, for healing, and for creating impact? Today we're sitting down with Hana Ateeq, a DJ, data analyst, and mental health advocate who has turned her lived experience with bipolar disorder into a source of understanding and creativity. Diagnosed in 2023, Hana has navigated the highs of artistic expression and the depths of emotional struggle, using data analytics, music, and storytelling as tools for clarity and healing. From growing up in Pakistan, surrounded by the poetry of Bollywood and the rhythms of South Asia, to facing personal battles with mental health and generational trauma, Hana's story is a testament to the power of turning pain into art and using creativity to make the world a little softer. This episode, hosted by the incredible True Adams, is one about resilience, self-discovery, and finding your voice, even when the world feels chaotic. Take it away, True.
Well, Hannah, welcome. Oh my goodness. First of all, I would like to say how honored I am that I get to be the one to facilitate the telling of your story. So it's such an honor to have you, and I can't wait to hear what you share. Getting right into it, I was looking at initially the thing that you wanted to talk about and your transformative experience. And I know that in seeing that your story is incredibly multifaceted, from your work as a data analyst to your work being a DJ, and you discussing your mental health and you being an advocate of that. So let's start by just talking a little bit about your experiences growing up, because I saw that you grew up in Pakistan and you were surrounded by all the extraordinary local artists and that vibrant culture and the sounds of Bollywood. Can you tell us a little bit about how growing up in that culture, in that area, and your love of storytelling, how that shaped you into the person that you are today?
Thank you, True. I'm very honored that I am having this conversation with you as well. So thank you for that. So growing up in Pakistan was a very humbling experience because it is a third world country. So there is so much disparity between incomes that as even when you're walking around and sort of driving around, you get to have a firsthand exposure to that. So for me personally, it was very humbling. When I was growing up, I got exposure to how folks are like with resources and how they're able to succeed when they have the support of family versus when you don't have an income and you don't have support and resources, what that is like. So for me, it was sort of, and I was very fortunate because my family, we do have a bit of a class system. It was a middle class. So my family was able to put me in really good schools. So I was able to study with folks from all over Europe. But at the same time, my mom, she would give back to the community quite a bit. So we would help folks out and we would have individuals coming to our home as well. And there was always this charitable concept growing up. Where Bollywood comes in is we were actually, my whole family, very huge fan of the industry and very huge fan of the artists from Bollywood. But also Pakistani artists and singers and musicians are some of the most incredible musicians I've come across. The music and the language in Pakistan, it's very poetic. And the way that we express ourselves is so intentional and so much more emotion in there. An example is like, you don't just say like, I love you, for instance. It's like my world is filled with so much joy and happiness just because I get to experience the essence of your life next to mine. So it's very, very fun. Things like that. But sort of taking that experience of being surrounded by these beautiful artists and being exposed to some of the disparity, I just personally I'm just a very humble person. And I have made sure that as I fulfill the goals and my purpose in life, that I hold on to that humility very strongly.
That's amazing. And that's important.
Um,
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna talk and shift a little bit and talk specifically about your diagnosis and how you got led to being an advocate for mental health. You were diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2023. And can you tell us a little bit about that diagnosis, how that impact your perception of your surroundings and your world and your understanding of mental health?
Absolutely. So, to start with bipolar, the history of that is my father used to have a mental disorder. It was unmanaged and undiagnosed, and inevitably led him to being an abusive individual. So a lot of the experiences that I had were direct exposure to mental, emotional, and physical abuse. And so I saw him hurting my mom, my sister, sometimes myself, but also just hurting himself and not being in control of his emotions and his actions. And this was happening. All of us experienced it. My siblings and I saw this growing up. But in the 20s, you kind of have a bit of 18. When you're like 18, 19, you're a little bit more in touch with your mind and what's going on in the world. So it was very hard to comprehend why he's doing this, because he could be doing everything right and he's still not content and still unhappy. And inevitably, he ended up leaving us. And we were in quite, it was my mom, my sister, and I, and we were in quite a tough, challenging situation. But for me, I needed to understand what happened or why, so that I can heal, because I didn't want to repeat his actions and what he has done. And I was so careful about it because at the time I didn't know that I had bipolar. I just knew that my emotions are really heightened and I am feeling a lot of pain. And I didn't want to cause that pain to other people. So I really wanted to, and I was experiencing depression as well. So I wanted to have a better understanding of myself, which healing is quite painful. I don't know if people mention that very often. But in that process, I needed to learn from what he has done and then also move past it in a way that I don't repeat those patterns. Because in my journey, I learned that it's actually not just him. We have a generational pattern of treating children and each other very poorly that exists on my father's side of the family. And if I was to break that generational trauma and move towards a healthy life, I need to have a better understanding of how to do that and recognize those patterns and break them.
Right.
So that was kind of the background that inevitably led me. But I didn't get the diagnosis till 2023 because I had to figure out first whether it's just external environment that's causing it or whether it's depression, that it's not just a linear path to diagnosis. So I spent a lot of my time trying to work through a lot of things that were tough. And then when I was able to eliminate all these external stressors and still was experiencing it, that's when we realized, okay, this is actually bipolar. It's not just a temporary sort of a depression thing. It's not just anxiety. There are things that keep happening that causes the ups and downs. So that's kind of how the journey of bipolar. Um, when I was diagnosed with it, and just to step back, bipolar is a mood disorder. And there are two different types. You have type 1 and type 2. I was diagnosed with type 2. And the major difference is that with type 1, you have these manic episodes that can be very hard to control and can be very detrimental. Type 2 is called hypomania, where it's not as intense, but it's more that I can be very energetic and very excited and creative in one aspect, and then I can be very depressed at the next moment. So it can be two different spectrums of emotions, and not a lot of balance.
Oh, wow. So as you're going through that whole discovery phase and moving through that, what did you find was like the most surprising or challenging part of navigating your life with that new understanding of what you were actually going through?
I think the most challenging part is that when there is no one around you to guide you and you're the one who's building the guide, what are you gonna outline in it? Like, what am I gonna tell myself? How am I gonna move through it? Who do I find that can understand what I'm going through and guide me through it? Because this is not something that anyone else in my family or people around me knew about, nor had they had a lot of exposure. We had only had seen the abusive side of it, but not so much that it itself is an illness. Abuse is just the individual itself. So sometimes people tend to associate the diagnosis with abusive patterns of behavior. They're independent of each other. So first I had to think about, okay, what my father showed me what I don't want to be, but I needed to outline and think about what is it that I do want out of my life and myself, and what are the things, the values that I want to live by. Because with bipolar, in my happy phase, I am the most like loving, energetic, and giving individual. Like I love a very, very hyper person. My depressions are very, I, I would say they're extremely sad. They can be hard to go through for even as a friend. If somebody is watching me go through it, it's just extremely sad, and I'm very down. And in my downs, I don't even want to be alive in that in when I'm in it. So, and it's out of my control, and I have learned that now. So I I empathize with it a little bit more. But the challenge was first identifying, okay, how am I gonna build a guide to my own life that I'm gonna live by? And just breaking it down to little achievable goals helped me understand, okay, I first need to get out of it's so simple. People get out of bed, it's the easiest thing for them. For me to get out of bed is like I have to open my eyes. I need to shift my body to the left. I need to put my foot down. I need to go to the bathroom so I can brush my teeth. Like that's how simple I make my life, and my goals. And if I can breathe, I can open my eyes. I can go to the restroom. Check, girl, you did
When
it. Yeah. Like, uh, so that was the challenging part, just figuring out how do I want to live my life, because I don't want to end it. That's not my goal. I feel it. But it's not an action that I want to exercise.
I think that's incredible and so courageous that you, in those moments, are still finding a way to move through and pivot into something that is going to have a positive outcome, especially when you've had the history of what something like that with your father, being left untreated and the challenges that he had faced and how his outlet kind of manifested itself. So that's amazing. And what you have done is taken those personal struggles and have turned it like pain into art, which is just incredible. Like I'm in awe of that. So can you talk a little bit more about how your experience specifically with your father led to you having that strength in whatever way that you could find it to be able to turn that pain into something more positive, and how that influenced your advocacy to work with your own healing journey.
Absolutely. Um, I think that for me, I always have felt for a while that my purpose in life is a little bit more than what is expected of me, in a sense that my vision and my dreams are bigger.
Yes.
And it was the case because I was very fortunate that my community and my friends are some of the most kindest and loving individuals in the world. And when I needed support in whichever way I needed it, or if I needed guidance, I seeked it out, mainly because I didn't have I wasn't surrounded by it. Therefore, I wanted to seek it out just to make sure that I'm going on the right path. And sometimes there are things that other people are good at that you're not good at. And I think that's okay, because life is a learning experience. And one of the things I always say to myself, like, people are lessons and I'm a student of life. So if I can interact and learn from them, then I'll always grab something from them that'll help me move forward in life in a positive manner.
Absolutely.
Um, but turning pain into art happened quite recently. I always used to actually write songs and write like poems and stuff. I never shared it with people. It was just something I would do. But in 2020, I had a husky. His name was Hades. He was a chocolate husky. And in 2023, he passed away due to cancer. And one of the things with bipolar is your emotions are enhanced. It's an chemical imbalance in your brain. So when I am feeling happy and feeling positive emotions, it is very much more enhanced than what a regular person would experience. And when I'm experiencing sadness, it is a very deep sadness, more so than what a regular person experiences. So when he passed away, I just couldn't handle it. And it manifested me physically as well. So I was struggling to walk from my left side. Um, I had kidney stones. I had all these infections. I went to the ER 3 times. I felt like I had lost something that was such a big part of helping me move through those very tough years. I lost myself when I lost him. And he was such a support for me. And in that time, I was just sort of practicing DJing because I thought, okay, this is something that I've wanted to do, explore, but was never really serious about it. But because I was so down and low every single day, I just felt that I needed to put my mind to something that'll bring some kind of joy, even if it's for a minute.
Mhm.
And with bipolar, when you're down and if you're really in your lows, you can't get yourself out of it. So, and this is all my personal experience. Everybody experiences a lot differently. So I just want to make sure I say this is my own experience and it might be different for somebody else. But I couldn't talk myself out of crying. So I would be crying nonstop for 4.5 hours.
Mhm.
And I it was so much pain. Um, and then once again, my amazing, loving group of friends and family in the community I have, when they heard me play this music and kind of the songs that I was selecting, it, even though I was experiencing pain, I would always pick music that was uplifting and positive, and then kind of realize that I'm picking up patterns in the music, very similar to kind of the patterns that I pick up in myself when I'm going through the highs and lows of bipolar and trying to manage what's happening. I just am picking up all these patterns. And so my friends, they said, okay, if you're doing this, we're having a little get together. Like, would you like to just, showcase what you're doing? And I said, yes. So we had this foam party over the summer, and I DJ'd there and they loved it. everybody danced and they said, "Oh my God, like the music that you pick, it's so uplifting and positive." And even on that day, one of my friends' mom had passed away, I think within that week, and for him to get up and show up and smile, that was such an impact for me because I was already down with somebody else. I mean, that was just my dog, but somebody else had lost their parent and they're there smiling, like, wow. Um, so that's kind of how I realized that I have something that I'm doing that's creating a positive impact, and started pursuing it.
That's amazing. And it's proven that music has been a powerful outlet for you and others that are listening to your music and what you're creating, which is amazing. So you find that creating this music kind of helps stabilize your mood, or does it allow you to really lean more into the emotions that you're experiencing at that time?
It's the latter. It's
Mhm.
the emotions that I'm experiencing at that time, and what I have learned in terms of managing my highs and lows, when I am very happy, I'll DJ. When I'm very sad, I'll write poetry.
Oh,
And so I'll express myself through poems and I'll express myself through words. But when I am in my, creative, excited kind of mode, I'm like, oh, I can channel that into music because I can relate to it and I love dancing. So um I always end up picking something that I know is gonna help people channel their grief, their pain, their happiness into something that'll make them move and make them feel just joy, even if it's for a moment.
that's amazing. So most of the sounds that you're creating, are they influenced heavily by the Bollywood sound, or how do you weave that into the music that you're creating?
Yeah, I so both Bollywood and Pakistani and just South Asian in general, I love weaving in vocals and instrumentals from that region. And I truly believe that there's such a heavy influence of music all over the world from one another. And we're so siloed sometimes, we don't really quite understand how music influences from one continent to the other. So I could be bringing in Missy Elliott and then bringing in a Punjabi hip hop song
Right.
from South Asia that just like blends in well together. Um, but what it does for the audience is now they understand the beat of Missy Elliott's, but the rap is in Punjabi, and they're like, "Oh, this is different but familiar," and you still kind of vibe with it. So I really try to make sure that people understand how we all influence one another in such a positive way, and I'll blend in things from Africa, Latin, um, Italian, German, basically music from all over the world, taking in different vocals and melodies and bass and weaving it all in. Sometimes when some of the sets that I have, if someone is really paying attention, they kind of tell a story in different languages. So if you translate all the songs that I picked, they're all talking about the same thing and the journey and the story of something, if you really deep dive into it.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, I think it's just more about making sure that people understand how they're impacting one another.
Mhm. Or you're just proving how universal music and the message is for everyone. And that's an amazing thing to experience. Oh my gosh. So let's pivot real quick and let's talk
Yeah.
about the beautiful brain of yours as a data analyst, which I could never. So you've actually combined your skills in data analyst analytics with your mental health journey. Can you first talk a little bit about your role in data analytics, and then can you share a little bit about how analyzing data has helped you find clarity or kind of cope with the chaos and what's going on in your life?
So I just want to say I love data. I love it so much. I think from that it was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like data needs to be in there. It is so important, and I don't think we all realize we are actually consuming data, not just like the videos and Instagram. We're actually consuming data all the time. about like we're hungry, we need to sleep, we need to see our friends, we need to take care of ourselves. Like we're just always analyzing ourselves. And I the story that I've shared prior to this was happening side by side as I was learning analytics and math. So I did my undergrad in mathematics and then I did my master's in business analytics and got exposure to this world of analytics where you're looking at numbers and you're creating this visualization and you're asking questions like, what is this telling me about people or finances or anything that I'm picking. And I actually had started out practicing on financial data and marketing data to understand revenue and profits and these types of things. But once I had trained myself fairly well, I would just go to the US Gov site that has all this data and just like download it and learn about random things like food resource, for instance. You know, what is it like for the US and resources and access to food? I did a competition with this incredibly intelligent group of women where when the law was turned, uh, uh, abortion law was turned over, we decided that we are going to analyze some data. And we just pulled all these data sources together to understand who this law actually impacts, and then did a sentiment analysis for tweets at that time on Twitter. So it's just data was just this world that I was pursuing because of I needed a career and I was liking what I was coming across and I liked getting into it and the conversations the conversations I was having with people. And when you learn data analytics, you kind of learn these 5 questions of like who, what, where, when, why.
Mhm.
You kind of always practicing that. What is this data telling me? Who is it about? What can I do with it? Why is it that way? Let's keep deep diving deeper and deeper. And those are the same things that I'm applying when I'm learning about my father and I'm learning about his mental health struggles. And it's undiagnosed, and I'm guessing this, I don't know, but I think that he had borderline and he's struggles with it. But first it was like, why is this action towards me this way? Is it me? Like, what did I do? Let's look at data. Am I doing everything right? Am I communicating things effectively? Am I making sure that I'm a good daughter? Because I was really young. You're in high school, kind of going through that. You're not even fully an adult at that time. So data analytics was kind of in my brain when I was healing. And when I got into the analytics and you're kind of searching the answers, you realize like data does not lie unless you're lying about the numbers. So the
Right.
conclusion so the conclusions that I'm coming up with here, I need to trust in those conclusions because I have information helping me come to that particular point. And it was the same thing with his mental health disorder and some of the abusive stuff. It was just recognizing that it's not me. I am not the one who caused this. This is his struggle and his journey. And it is unfortunate that he was struggling with this and he didn't seek the guidance. But it is up to me to recognize that I need to change that pattern. And actually, that is the gap that I identified, that he didn't seek guidance and I need to. And that's what data does as well. You identify gaps and you just try to figure out how you can fill them with the right information and the right research.
That's incredible. Breaking down what data analytics are at its core is helping my right brain not to spiral. So thank you for that. So let's talk about a little bit about the concept, which I find so unique with you be able to tell stories through data. And can you say exactly and share with us like how you use analytics to make sense of it all and how that approach has helped you connect with others?
So analytics, I'm going to talk a little bit about bipolar with analytics because I think it's important because I did want to talk about how it helps me. I'm hoping it helps other people. But with bipolar, I recognize not so much like when it's going to happen, but I know what I'm gonna feel and how I'm gonna be physically that day, and I reduce the interval. That means like I can't predict that it's gonna happen on this day, but when I wake up in the morning, I know that I am not okay. I already feel it. I feel it in my heart, I feel it in my body, I feel it in my mind. So now what I do is I reduce my time frame and I slow things down quite a bit. So I'm analyzing things every like 15 to 30 minutes about myself, checking in on how I'm doing, what do I need to change, how am I going to move through, what do I need to communicate, constantly analyzing the emotions and my physical response as well, because emotions manifest physically and I can actually feel pain and I can actually feel things that are there's so much for me that it's hard to manage without knowing like, hey, this is what's going to be happening or how you're feeling. So let's make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And all it is when it comes to analytics and self analysis, like at the end of the day, it's just self love and self care. And I just want to make sure that I take care of myself and I reach out to my community. So once I know that for instance, if I'm really down and I'm going to be crying, and I know that I only want to give myself a certain amount of time that I'm going to be crying, I'll let my friend know, hey, can you call me at this time because I'm feeling down. I need to move through it. But then at this time, it would be helpful for you to talk to me about anything in the world, literally, talk to me about pasta or something. But then it allows me to move through my emotion and then also take care of myself. And so that's kind of how I've analyzed information when it comes to me and my mental health. There are also apps out there that help you with that. So Dalio is one, Bearable, I think Moodflow as well. So what they do is they help you track your moods and help you track where you are emotionally, and they'll visualize it for you as well. And that way you're able to understand like where you are that day or that hour or that half hour. However, you need to break down your emotional health. And altogether, it's emotional literacy, emotional intelligence. If you have those two things, kind of, you learn about it, you're just analyzing those two things and making sure that you're taking care of yourself along the way.
Okay, real quick, I'm gonna have to look real quick. There was a question that Devron had that I thought was still connected in what we're speaking on at the moment. And he asked, can you expand on the importance of being okay with not being okay? So he says so many of us force ourselves to trying to be okay, especially because of the fear of judgment from others, which is true, or fear of looking weak, when it's truly a human experience is something that we need to move through organically. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I can. And I will first say that you have when I first started this, I had mentioned that you have to understand who you are and what you want and what your values are.
Mm.
So, if your value is to live a life of transparency, which is one of the things that's important to me, that just means I need to understand at this moment in time I'm not okay, and that is okay because I'm being transparent. I'm living into the thing that I value. And the very first thing that I think individuals should do is you should learn to you should equip yourself with the vocabulary of the life that you want to live, and you should use that vocabulary every single day. And then also surround yourself with individuals who are speaking the same language as you. So I'm going to pause for a second and step back and explain that. If I know that I am not okay, I need to only surround myself with individuals who will accept me in that state and hold space for me to be able to move through it. And that requires empathy, that requires love, that requires patience. I need to make sure, and it's my responsibility to make sure because other people are not gonna, nobody knows what's going on in my mind.
Right.
So it's my responsibility to know first what it is that I need, what do I want to accomplish out of it, and then slowly take the steps to reach out to those resources and surround myself with them. And there's so many communities out there. There's so many people that are trying to have these little pockets of love all around. I know when I finally made up my mind about what I wanted out of myself and that I was not okay and that I needed to be accepted, I was able to find individuals who are experiencing the same thing. And they would just hold my hand and they will say, "It is okay, Hana. Even if you're not okay with being okay, and even if you want to be a turtle and hide and anything, like we're just gonna come by and we're gonna leave pie for you in front of your house. You don't have to look at us. You don't even have to see us. We just want to leave you pie, and that's it." And it's the sweetest thing. That's why I'm so grateful to my friends and the community. They're so lovely. And there are people out there, there's strangers out there who've extended kindness to me, but I have seeked it as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. You need to be surrounded by that. Absolutely. Real quick before we move on, you spoke a little bit about those apps to kind of help you process through your emotions. Heather asked if you could repeat the names of those apps again.
Yes, so it's Dalio, Bearable, and Mood Flow. I really like Mood Flow. I think that they do a good job of visualization. Um, I myself have this, where is it? When I need to do tasks and stuff, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, I have this task notebook that I keep with myself. And when I am experiencing too much emotions and too much chaos in my mind, I need to make sense of something. I'll just write it down. And then I'll see what I can. It's not even an order of importance. It's like, okay, how much of this can I accomplish? Can I accomplish like 60% of it? So I have 10 tasks. Can I do 6 of them?
Mhm.
And if I can, that's great. I don't want 100%. I don't seek perfection out of life. I feel like it's a unrealistic goal. And I think there's beauty in imperfection. There's beauty in breakdown and all of beauty and vulnerability. So when I have this mindset, I'm just gonna see, okay, I accomplished 6 things. Like, go girl, you did it. Like you got up and you did one thing today. Like
Right. Yay.
celebrate that because there are people out there who don't even have the opportunities or resources or the help to do what I am doing.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure I practice gratitude and just get up and say, okay, I opened my eyes today and I did this. Like, celebrate the little things, be proud of them, but also celebrate the big things as well. They're always there. But those little things, we don't even think about it. But for some people, that is a struggle. Um, but yeah, writing things down and then mood flow will just tell you a little bit more about your emotions. And that way you can understand, okay, I'm feeling heavy today. I just need to step away from the internet or whatever it is that you need for yourself that day.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So besides the apps that you suggested and your task book, like, is there any other tool that kind of helps you reconcile and kind of balance and understand your experiences as you're going through them?
Yeah, I came across this concept reading Phil Stutt's book. It's called Tools. And I would recommend everyone to read that book because it has made a profound difference in my life and how I pursue it. But one of the concepts that he shares in his one of the tools he talks about is it's going to sound a bit strange, but I'm going to speak about it because it resonated with me.
Okay.
It's this desire to want pain, but not in a sadomasochist kind of way or anything like that. It's more about, like, for instance, athletes. They know that they want to be the best athletes, so they're going to be exercising and pushing themselves every day.
Mhm.
They want to be something, therefore they're going to equip themselves with the tools to move through that pain and heal and exercise that muscle. So you have to kind of almost want to move through it and desire it so that you can reach your end goal. I think a lot of us try to avoid pain or avoid feeling pain and grief because it is so painful. But
Right.
I feel it is a muscle you need to exercise, really. Like move through pain enough times, you'll actually learn to move through it a little less painfully. It's not
Right.
going to go away by any means, because it is a part of life and we can't escape it. What we can do is move through it. And I have moved through it in some very painful ways. When my heart was broken, I was sitting in the car wailing, asking for someone to take this pain away from me because I cannot take it anymore. And in those moments, and when I reflect back, I have a lot of self-empathy for myself. And I think that's also important for people to have. Um, but yeah, just think about, why are you preventing yourself from feeling something that you owe yourself to feel? Whether it's happiness, whether it's pain, whether it's grief, give yourself that grace because you deserve it. It's like self-love, like love yourself through it. If your friend was going through that, you would just be like hugging them and
Yeah.
saying all these wonderful things to help them move through it. You are your own best friend first. And so love yourself that much more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I respect the whole concept of almost like it has to hurt in order for it to heal. So you kind
Mhm.
of have to look at what's going on and analyze it from that point and not run away from it in order to come out of it, stronger and more resilient and more equipped to handle it the next time something like that rolls around. So yeah, I think that's really, really important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I would recommend folks to read that book. I think I used to hide from pain and it made me a zombie. So when
Mhm.
something would happen, I wouldn't show any emotion. But what it ended up happening is, I would, by once again referencing bipolar with the heightened emotion, I would feel extremely down and very sad. And then it started manifesting in me physically. So I would get cystic acne, inflammation all over my face, all over my body. So you might think that you are protecting or saving or hiding yourself from experiencing something, but your body holds on to it.
Yeah.
And it is going to come out in one way or the
Present
other.
in some way. Yeah.
It does. And the more self-aware you are about it, the more you're gonna be able and lean on people, the right people. The more you do that, the more it's gonna help you move through it in a way that's healthy for you as an individual.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my goodness gracious. So let's let's pivot and we're gonna now talk about something that I was actually excited to learn more of, which is Friend Fest, this initiative that you created for the local Kentucky community, and you are a founder of. Let's talk about that and how that came to be.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love Friend Fest. I love talking about this. I'm very passionate about it. So, my group of friends, we all experienced these very profound emotions and scenarios in life, and we were very lucky that we found each other. And we've always created an environment. It wasn't always easy because we're not always mature at the time that we met each other, but we stuck around because I felt like we connected, that we needed kindness and community. And
Mhm.
because of that, we always kind of stuck with each other. But we would have these gatherings where everybody would come together to someone's house and we would decorate it all with different things like tapestries and lights, and everybody brings food together. And then we have amazing music coming, like music playing in the background. Um, and then it was just a place for us to have conversations, whether they were deep conversations or whether they were surface level of like, how are you doing? What's going on? But that's not usually my friends and I. We talk about a lot of different things and very tough conversations with each other as well. And one of my friends, he was like, "This is kind of like Friend Fest. This is what we're gonna call it." And we would just get together and have these amazing times. And we realized that after the following day, all of us feel lighter and we feel like we're not holding on to the heaviness of grief too much. And then we also are celebrating a lot of these happy things that are happening. So I asked them if it's okay for me to kind of introduce this concept to other individuals because I think we can use a little bit more kindness in this
Yeah.
world. And they're so awesome too. We're so welcoming. We just kind of want to. And once again, I found it, but it's very much inspired by the folks in my life. So it's a collaboration with both artistic friends and incredible individuals who have helped this concept come to fruition. And so that was where Friend Fest started. But then I was also always like big fan of immersive museums like Otherworld and Meow Wolf. I just felt like a kid. And so I thought, okay, like I'm a DJ and we have this community. We're playing awesome music. Like, can we combine this concept of immersive art and music event and grab all these incredible artists together, and spread the message of kindness.
Yeah.
Really, I just want to spread the message of kindness. And that's how kind of FriendFest came into fruition. Everybody kind of came together and made it possible.
Wow. Yeah, not me trying to figure out how to get to Kentucky real quick.
I would love that. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whenever that
Oh,
I had
yeah.
became a DJ, my instructor, he owns a EDM agency in Louisville called Inferno Collective. And I pitched this idea to him and he was on board. So he has all these producers and DJs and access to all these visual artists that all want to create the same message. And here I am with my friends who also happen to be creative and also want to like spread the message of a community and kindness. So I don't know what it is in life, but when you live it with more intentionality, somehow life gives you the things that are meant to cross your path.
Right.
So for me, the intentions was kindness, community, and empathy. And if I can keep moving forward with the lead and taking steps to get closer to that, what does that look like for me? Once again, the values of like what values are important to me. And if I can set those values and be consistent with them, what's gonna happen? And that's how Friend Bus came to came to fruition.
So Heather asked, I swear she asked this on my behalf. So like, does Friend Fest travel?
I would love for Friend Press to travel. We are not there yet today, but we do want to be able to do that. I think that we are while we want this to be very successful, we're very intentional about our partnerships. All the venues that we work with, all the vendors that we work with, all the artists, they're all so loving and genuine and accepting at heart. They all have stories and struggles that they are openly sharing because we really believe that more than ever and the times that we are today that we need to create a community where individuals can feel safe and secure. And because we're so intentional about it, we just want to make sure that we're working with the right partners and the right venues because it's not just about we're not doing it for the money. We really are doing it because we want to spread kindness in this world and we want people to feel loved. And whether you're an introvert and you don't want to talk to people, but you want the environment to be safe where you can just do your art and listen to music, we create that environment for you. And we create activities where you can just kind of do your own thing, but still kind of feel part of an environment where you can look around and be like, okay, I'm out of my house, out of my home, and I can still do the art.
That's amazing. Real quick, Davron actually asked, he would love to know more about what Friend Fest actually means to you. Even though it's an event that welcomes everyone, he said he's seen the response from people who has received so much healing and fulfillment from the event and wants to know what it's like for you to understand how impactful you are to the local community and how it contributes to your own healing.
So Friend Fest for me is it's like the ultimate, I guess, legacy I want to leave behind. Whether it is big or grand, I don't know what that looks like, but to me it's a legacy because I know that my father, had he taken the time to heal and taken the time to check in with himself and give back to individuals in the community in a way that I have, that this legacy would be actually his because he is a very keep saying was, he's a very talented individual. He's very intelligent. He's creative. He writes or used to write poetry. He's still alive. We're just not really in touch. But he used to write poetry, and he had this environment where he would invite musicians to come together. So the more I learned about his life a little bit more and where he came from, the more I realized I've actually have that in me from him and from his side of the family. So FriendFest is the legacy of positivity, love, empathy, and kindness that I wish that I had earlier in my childhood a little bit more for myself, that I want to pour into this event to give back so that people can feel it. They can come in knowing that if they are feeling sad or happy or any which way, that they will be celebrated and loved and taken care of in that space.
I love that that's the legacy you want to leave behind and the message that you want people to take away. That's absolutely incredible. What are some of the ways that we could all support you in FriendFest?
You just let me know when you're coming and how I can host you to Louisville. That would be great. I think that right now I would love to understand a little bit more about how we can, folks who feel the need to give back to the community, how we can partner with them to grow this in a way that keeps it consistent. And we can take this in different places. So if there are individuals that anybody on the call knows who would love to participate in something like this, or if you know of a venue owner who's very kind at heart and who would welcome this concept there, like connect with me, let me know. We're happy to take this to different places. We are very intentional about who we work with. And we also want to take our time for growth because we want to make sure that we do it right. But yeah, just connect with me, come to FriendFest, follow us on social media, follow the DJs and the artists that are a part of it, because while we are in Kentucky, I think Kentucky has so much talent, so much love, lots of individuals here that are trying to build something that's going to create a more positive impact in the world. And I feel that, and not only that, if you can understand the message of FriendFest, just live it daily. Be empathetic, be kind to yourself, to the people around you. I think that's the biggest way that you can support, because it's just an event, but it's based off of the values that we want to leave into the world.
Great. Oh my gosh. I'm going to check real quick to see if there are any more questions coming in. If anyone wants to ask a question to Hana. But while I'm waiting for that, can you say exactly where people can find you online to get more information about you and FriendFest? And so what are your handles on social?
Oh yeah. So by the way, my DJ name is DJ Begum. It is my mama's last name. And while I did not talk about her heavily in this podcast, she's an incredible woman, and she's been a very strong support for all of us children to succeed. And Begum means a woman of higher rank. In all intents and purposes, means a woman of higher rank. So I just took her name, and culturally, Begum is somebody who's old, and we just out of respect call him Begum, and there's not a lot of like culturally, it's just a way to address somebody older, but I just decided to take that name and kind of make it a my own little positive spin of what I think Begum should be.
Okay. I love that.
So, yeah. So it's dj.begum, Begum on Instagram, and you can find FriendFest on Instagram as well under the FriendFest handle. We're also on Facebook. And you can find me personally, the Hana Ateeq, the real who I am, on pretty much on LinkedIn. My last name is spelled as Ateeq, and my first name is Hana. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, we're there. You can also look at thefriendfest.com as well. All the artists, all the DJs, producers, dancers, creatives that are a part of this event, I've made sure that we all share their stories and their journey. So we are going to be doing a lot more blogs, a lot more articles to share who they are. And the best way to keep in touch with us is honestly just Instagram. Message us, connect with us, come to the event if you can. We make sure that we're absolutely accessible to individuals. We don't try to keep a lot of barrier between ourselves and the audience. So we're gonna walk around and we'll ask you like, how did you guys hear about this? What did you like about this? Like, do you want to be friends? And
Yeah.
let's, have brunch together. It's a very warm and welcoming environment.
Oh, that's amazing. We have another question from Devron. He said he would like to know what your 5-year plan is for FriendFest. And we already know the traveling is phase 2. Uh, we're at the pinnacle of what impact you hope that it will have and what that will mean to you.
So my 5-year plan really is that I would like to have an immersive art and music venue in Kentucky, preferably in Louisville, just because the community is here. And I'd like to have this space that continuously instills the importance of kindness and self-love, connecting with yourself and individuals around you in the most like raw manner where you can be vulnerable and you're accepted for it and you're loved for it and you're not judged because we like experiencing shame is a very normal and human thing, but the way the antidote to shame is empathy. So
Mm,
sometimes you might not have a lot of self-empathy, but somebody else will have that for you. And
right.
so I am hoping that once I have this, brick and mortar of this incredible museum that helps you channel your inner kid and you get to hear the music of artists and you have these little pockets of spaces where you can just be yourself, that you don't have to hide from the world around you. Like you let yourself embrace yourself and let other people embrace you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. This has been an incredible interview. I'm so happy that you got to share. And we usually wrap up. Sure, we talk about what the people that we interview are inspired by. If there's any person or some concept or some feeling that kind of drives you and keeps you motivated. Can you share a little bit about that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think it's people like yourself, Drew, and
Oh,
Heather,
wow.
and Deborah, and my friends, my family, my mentors. It
Mm,
is the people who lead their life with intentionality, who want kindness to scream louder than anger, who
yeah.
want love to be louder than pain, I guess. These are we need to have more real conversations about real humans and what we're experiencing. And the inspiration really are there's no like big CEO or something. It's real people, real experiences around me that are the inspiration for this. And if I feel that if someone like myself, after everything that I've gone through, can hold space to transform and grow and give back, then perhaps somebody else might feel inspired by my regular journey and move towards a life that's healthy for them, both mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. And that's so powerful. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness. So, any more questions? I think we are good. Shout out to any mentors. Yeah, yeah. We already did that. Yes. All right. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for sharing, for being here, for holding space for yourself and for us listening in and being inspired. This was incredible. I'm so glad I was able to do this. And yeah, that's it. So, is there any last words you want to share or?
True. Just thank you so much. Thank you to
Right.
the Developing Life team in general for having me here and for the audience for sticking around till the very end. You guys are just incredible individuals, and the work that you do, the love that you give into the world, it gets heard and it is being heard. So I hope you're making a huge difference in everyone's lives. So thank you so much.
Right. Right. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.